शुक्लांबरधरं विष्णुं शशिवर्णं चतुर्भुजं प्रसन्नवदनं ध्यायेत् सर्वविघ्नोपशान्तये। नमस्ते शारदे देवी सरस्वती मतिप्रदे रसत्वं मम जिह्वाग्रे सर्वविद्याप्रदा भव। गुरवे सर्वलोकानां भिषजे भवरोगिणां निधये सर्वविद्यानां दक्षिणामूर्तये नमः। ॐ मूर्तित्वे परिकल्पितस्य शभृतो वर्त्मा पुनर्जन्मनाम् आत्मेत्यात्मविदां क्रतुश्चेजतां भर्तामरज्योतिषां लोकानां प्रलयोदयस्थितिविभुश्चानेकधा यः श्रुतौ वाचं नः सदधातु नैककिरणस्त्रैलोक्यदीपो रविः। ॐ सर्वचैतन्यरूपां ताम् आद्यां विद्यां च धीमहि बुद्धिं या नः प्रचोदयात्। हरिः ॐ। Salutations to all. Sarvebhyo namaskaraha. Now we're going to have a Panchanga Sravanam, which means like to know about what the Hindu almanac says about the coming year. The present year, it's called Plava, Plavanama Samvatsaram. So the name of the year, in the traditional Hindu system, we have a name for each and every year which the calendar system follows. So in English, traditionally in the West, we have an almanac where we have the longitudes of the planets, the rise and settings of sun or some stars, and a small forecast of the weather and when to plant the crops and when not to plant the crops. So it has some generalized things, considering some from astronomy and some from astrology. But in the Hindu traditional system, we call the almanac as a Panchangam, or you can say it as a Panchang. So it also contains some parts from astronomy as well as some broad perspective from astrology as well. It has the longitudes of different planets, the rising and settings of sun and planets, as well as some stars, depending on the almanac and the purpose to use. And the other thing is it has wide aspects from astrology. And one of the most important thing which the Hindu almanac has are about the auspicious timings. It's called as muhurta, like when to perform such certain ritual or when to perform certain activity, like if you want to start a new business, or when is a good time to get married, when is a good time to start a new venture, some real estate related things, when to construct the house, such all things, like when to start, when is a good time for some things, and when it is not a good time to start some things. So all these things are given in the Hindu almanac, or you can call it as a Hindu Panchanga. So on the New Year day, traditionally for different calendar systems, if you consider the calendar system which we majority follow throughout the world, the New Year starts on January 1st. So with January 1st, we have a new year. So this is the calendar system which we have been following since a couple thousands of years. But if you consider the Hindu system of following when the new year is supposed to begin, we traditionally follow a luni-solar calendar, where by getting the distance between the sun and the moon, we can know the phases of the moon, when it's a new moon or when it's not a new moon, or like when it is half moon, the quarter of the moon, all the different phases of the moon you get to know depending on the distance between the sun and the moon. So in the traditional Hindu system, when you know the longitudes of the planets, by some calculations you know which lunar month is going to happen now, and depending on that we have 12 lunar months. So if you consider Chaitra Suddha Padyami, it's called the starting of the new year for the Hindu calendar which we traditionally follow. And on New Year Day, what are the most important things to do if you consider? So depending on the new year, we have to know what the name of the year is, and who is the Adidevata, or who is the god which presides, which is the deity which is presiding for that year, which is taking control and which is trying to grant us good or bad. So this year traditionally we have 60 years which repeat upon a cycle, and of those 60 years, now the present year which we have is called as Plava. So Plava means something good to be done. So it depends on how much you strive to do good things. And the deity for this year is God of fire, or Agni. And his dhyana sloka I'm going to read out now. Agnim namami satatam jwalamalam tamopaham ajarudham chaturhastam dvisirsham plavasangnikam. So Agni is none other than the god of fire. So here we're doing salutations, we're offering salutations to God of fire, otherwise known as Agni. So he resembles the shape of fire, and he is going on the vehicle called goat. So each deity has different vehicles, considering Vishnu has an eagle, and Lord Shiva, he has an ox, or you can consider a bull. Just like that, God of fire, he has a vehicle which is a goat, and he has 2 faces and he has 4 hands. So he is the presiding deity for the year Plava. And considering what is supposed to be done on the New Year day, each different religions or different traditions has different types of customs to be followed for particular festivals or particular auspicious days. And if you consider the traditional Hindu system or the Indian system, on the New Year day, the ritual goes as you have to wake up before sunrise, do some sort of exercise or do yoga, so you be healthy, and you try to make it as a regular practice. And then you take a fresh bath, and at the time of sunrise, you try to do some meditation and offer some prayers to God. And once the prayers are done, one of the main thing which is to be followed is known as Ugadi Pachadi. So it is a pickle which is made fresh on that day itself. And the main concept for this pickle is we have 6 types of taste, which are broadly classified as sweet, salt, hot or spicy, sour, bitter, and tangy. So to make this pickle, you generally mix some jaggery, or you can take sugar if jaggery is not available, and you can take some amount of salt, and then you add some spices like chili powder or pepper if possible, and then you add a mango. So this is like the time of the season where you get fresh and ripe mangoes. So you add a mango, and then you add some neem flowers just to know the taste of how bitter it feels, and then some tamarind. Once you mix all 6 of these in some equal proportions, it makes it into a variety of tastes. So this is taken to gain some strength, which makes you understand that in life, all sorts of obstacles, however they may be, something may be good, something may be bad, just like some may be sweet, some may be salty. You try to enjoy each and every type of taste in life. Just like that, in real life, you should be ready to take any type of obstacle, any type of obstruction from someone, any type of new hurdles, and you should be ready with a can-do attitude, so you know how to face a particular situation or a problem. You shouldn't run away from any problem. You should know how to face it, and you should try to overcome it and then move forward. Like come what may, life goes on. So you should try to move forward in each and every aspect of life. By eating this, the tradition how we develop this, you should try to get accustomed to all shades of life and then know how to lead your life in all those shades. Apart from this, one of the most important things to be done on a Hindu New Year is the Panchanga Sravanam. Panchanga means a Hindu almanac, and Sravanam means to listen what it says about the coming year. So Panchangam, I want to give a brief description of what a Panchang is, or what a Hindu almanac is, so you get an idea of what all the aspect it covers. So the saying goes like, considering from the traditional scriptures or from all the manuscripts which we have, Tithirvarancha nakshatram yoga karaname vacha panchangamiti vikyatam lokanam upakaranam. So what is a panchang? In Sanskrit, pancha means 5. So Panchanga means elements you can consider, or parameters for this situation. So having 5 elements is called as a Panchang. In a Panchang, we have Tithi, Vara, Nakshatra, Yoga, Karana. So Tithi is nothing but by doing some mathematical calculations based upon the longitude of sun and moon, you get different phases of the moon. Just like I said, it could be a new moon, or it could be a full moon, or it could be a quarter moon. Like we have some different phases of moon. But in the Hindu calendar system, we have 30 phases for the moon. Or if you can try to broadly classify, considering the Hindu traditional system, we have 16 phases for the moon. But if you try to separate all the unique ones, or if you try to separate them based on their values, we get 30 phases for the moon. So 50 phases of the moon are in the bright half and 50 phases of the moon are in the dark half. So total we have 30 phases, 15 plus 15, 30 phases. It's like different from the way in the West how they calculate the phases of the moon. So each 12 degrees of difference of distance between the sun and moon is considered as one phase. And once the distance between them equals 0, it is considered as a no moon day, or traditionally a new moon day, which is going to start fresh from that day onwards. We call the day as Amavasya and the next day as Suddha Padyami. So total we have 30 phases of the moon. So a Panchang of the 5 elements, one of the element is called as a Tithi. So this is one element which tells us about the phase of the moon to be considered. And Varam, here Varam means weekday, Monday, Sunday, Tuesday, Wednesday, or Sunday. So which weekday is it on that particular day? We should know which weekday we are in today. Considering the New Year day, it's a Monday for us right now in US. So in each and every region, depending on the sunrise, the weekday changes. So here on the Panchang, it should show us for which date what the weekday is supposed to be. This is the second element of the Panchang. The third element is the Nakshatra. The Nakshatra, it is different from the traditional stars which we have in general astronomy. If you consider astronomy, we have some billions of stars in our galaxy. And if we still travel further, we have another billions and billions of stars. But apart from all the billions which are there in space, the ancient sages, the Hindu sages, they broadly classify 27 star clusters which are to be considered for prediction point of view. So as far as Hindu astronomy or Hindu astrology is considered, we take upon 20 star clusters, and each star cluster might have 1 star or 2 stars, and some can have 100 stars or 50 stars kind of thing. So we have 27 star clusters. They're traditionally known as Aswini, Bharani, Kritika, Rohini, like that till Revati. So these 27 stars, the moon, when it is traveling in space over 360 degrees, its longitude is represented as the star. So each longitude of the moon, it belongs to a segment of the star. The 360 degrees in the space is being divided into 27 equal divisions, and each division is given to a particular star. So the Panchang, the third element considering Nakshatra, it should tell us on that particular day, depending on the longitude of the moon, which Nakshatra it belongs to. And the fourth element is called as Yoga or Yogam. This Yoga is also caused by the longitude of the sun and the longitude of the moon. Depending on the differences between them, we get different types of yogas. And the fifth element is Karanam. The Karanam is also depending on the longitudes of the sun and moon. So total, we have 5 elements. Considering these 5 elements, they're called as Pancha Angas, considering Panchangam. So this Panchangam has so much prominence, and it's of utmost importance in the Hindu rituals, or considering any day-to-day daily life activities in the Hindu life cycle, because they have to know when to do some auspicious things and when not to do any good things, and when is a good time to start some new business, or when is a good time to start some new venture or kind of things. So to know all different types of timings, and to know what is the present day to do any auspicious thing, the Panchang has so much prominence for that. And apart from these 5 features, some other important features which the Panchang has is, it should tell us when we have the eclipses, because in Hindu traditional system, the eclipses are very sacred. Those timings are very auspicious for doing any meditation kind of things, or doing some japa, some penance. So it's basically repetition of any mantra to get the divine vibrations and the divine energy from that particular mantra. The eclipse time is considered very auspicious for doing any charities or any donations as well. So the Panchang should give you timings about when is an eclipse about to occur, and is that particular eclipse visible in your region or not, because traditionally we have so many Panchangs and each belonging to some particular location. And for example, if we have a solar eclipse, let's say in New York, and sometimes it might not be visible in Los Angeles. So in Los Angeles, if it is not visible, you don't need to know about that eclipse, and you don't have to follow any rituals concerning that particular eclipse. So it should give you data whether it is visible in your particular area or not. And apart from eclipses, it gives you a general predictions and what and how the year is going to be likely, and whether is it good or is something bad expected, or some natural calamities, some natural disasters, are they going to occur or not, or is the year going to be good for crops, are we gonna get a good yield or a bad yield, how is the political situation gonna be, all these general things. And apart from these, the auspicious timings, when is a good time to get married, or when is a good time to perform the marriage ritual, when is a good time to perform a housewarming ceremony, or when is a good time to buy some land, when is a good time to start a business. For example, if you own an oil industry and you want to start a new branch in some new city, or you want to know when is a good time to dig for oil. So all those good times are going to be represented and given briefly in a Panchang. Or you can consider a good astrologer or some Siddhanti, means a person who is well proficient in the astronomical calculations as well as the astrological part, so he knows how to predict and give a good timing to start some new things. So these are some of the key aspects of what a Panchang should have. And on the Panchang Sravana, one more question arises, like on the New Year, what a custom we have is, on the Hindu New Year day, we traditionally have a Panchanga Sravana, which you're listening to right now. The main intention of the Panchanga Sravana is it contains so many auspicious things. What are those? We're gonna look at them now. So we know what a Panchang is, and we know what the main 5 elements are. So let us know what is the advantage of knowing these 5 elements in our day-to-day life. Tidescha shriyamapnoti varadayushyavardhanam nakshtraduddharate papam yogadroga nivaranam karanat karya siddhischa panchanga phalamuttamam. So here the sage is telling us what is the benefit of knowing the 5 elements in our day-to-day life. Every day for the 365 days, considering a solar year, or if you consider a lunar year, it contains about 354 days, like 11 days short of a solar year. So if you know every day what is the particular phase of the moon on that day is, what is the weekday of that particular day, what is the nakshatra on that day, what is the yoga, and what is the karana. So if you know all these 5 elements, what is the benefit which the common man is going to get out of this? What is the common man going to get out of it? So here he says, Tidescha shriyamapnoti. If you know the phase of the moon for that particular day, it is auspicious in giving you good fortune, and it is good to earn money as well. It gives you some divine blessings. And varadayushyavardhanam, by knowing what the particular weekday of that day is. Varad Ayushyavardhanam. So here Ayush means lifespan. Any person requires a good lifespan. Whether you're in this materialistic life or you're leading some philosophical life, you do need a good lifespan. Because for normal beings, lifespan is needed to earn money, to gain family, to get good kids, to educate them, to lead a life, to live, to eat, to sleep, to get educated, for all different types of purposes. A normal person requires a good lifespan. And if you're not into this normal materialistic system, considering, let's say, you're in some philosophical lifestyle and where you're leading your life like a yogi and you want to get liberation as soon as possible, even then you need a good lifespan. Because if you want to do sadhana or practice for that, while doing sadhana, you require a good lifespan so you can meditate for a long time. You can read some good books, some divine books which tell us about meditation or yoga or spiritual way of life. You need to read some books, you got to gain some knowledge, and you have to practice it, you have to self-experience it, and considering all these takes some time. And in between, if your health is deteriorated or if you get malnutritious, you gotta again cure your diseases, you gotta have good health so you can continue that lifestyle again. So even either you're leading a materialistic life or a philosophical life, a spiritual life, you do require a good lifespan. So Varam, by knowing what that weekday is for that day, it will give you a good lifespan. Nakshatradudharate pavam. By knowing every day what the particular star or nakshatra on that day is, it reduces your sins. We as human beings might do a lot of sins, either knowingly or unknowingly, and by reciting every day what the nakshatra is, it reduces some of your sins, so you don't have to experience all of your sins. And yoga droga nivaranam. By knowing which yoga is there every day, it helps you maintain good health, so you can have a good health and all your diseases will slowly get reduced so you can lead a happy life. Karanat karya siddhischa. By knowing what the karana on that particular day is, it gives you karya siddhi. Here, karya siddhi means if you plan to do something and you're getting too many obstacles, it means the work is not getting done. But when you plan on doing something and without any obstacles, if you're able to finish it, it is called karya siddhi. So here, by knowing that karana, it gives you karya siddhi, so you can finish any type of task without any hurdle or any big problem. Or even if you do face some hurdles or problems, you will gain the capability, the strength to finish that particular project or a task without any hustle. So these are basically the key benefits by knowing every day in your life what the 5 elements of that particular day are known as Panchanga. So every day, what is the Panchanga for today? By knowing every day, you can gain all these auspicious good things in your life and lead a happy life. So this is broadly about what a Panchanga is and what is the advantage of knowing the Panchanga in your everyday life. But especially on the new year, we have some tradition which is being followed since ages, known as Panchanga Sravanam, which you're hearing right now. So Panchanga Sravanam is basically done only on the New Year day, no other days throughout the year. So on the New Year day, everybody on the evenings or in the mornings, they gather for Panchanga Sravanam, and a skilled astrologer who has some skill in astronomy as well, because he has to do the calculations and know how to calculate all the mathematical aspects for the planets and then try to predict. So a skilled person, also known as a Daivagna or Siddhanti, who is skilled both in astronomy and astrology as well, he's going to do Panchanga Sravanam on that day. So what is the benefit of Panchanga Sravanam and what does it contain? Let's go into it. Sri Kalyana Gunavaham Ripuharam Duswapnya Doshapaham Ganga Snana Visesha Punya Phaladam Godana Tulyam Drunam Ayurvruddhidamuttamam Subhakaram Santana Sampatpradam Nana Karma Susadhanam Samuchitam Panchangamakarnyatam. So here, sages are saying that what is a benefit you get by listening to Panchanga Sravana on the New Year day? Sri Kalyana Gunavaham. Sri means something which is very auspicious and which is very good for any person. Kalyana. Kalyana means here something good to be done or something good which is going to happen. Gunavaham. So by listening to Panchanga Sravanam on New Year Day especially, it gives you some good and divine blessings out of which you can gain some good fruits. And Ripu Haram. Ripu means enemies. In our everyday life, we have so many enemies, either unknowingly or knowingly. We might not do any harm to them, but some people, out of their own innate nature, they might be your foes instead of friends. And they might try to cause you harm, and they might try to take away the benefits which you might get either in your job or in your life or in your relationships. So here, Ripu Haram means, so all such people who cause obstructions to your life and all those who are enemies to your life. These people are called as external enemies. And you can even have some internal enemies like procrastination, when you plan to do something but you don't want to do it and you just delay it. So delaying too much also is bad for you. This delay is also called a sort of enemy. So all these enemies are being removed by this Panchanga Sravanam on a Hindu New Year Day. Duswapna dosha apaham. So here, duswapna means bad dreams. Generally, by everyday observations or the life on that particular day, we get many dreams. But most of the dreams, we generally don't remember them. But few of the dreams, they do make some deep impressions in your mind that you do remember them. So these dreams, they can be good or they can be bad. Sometimes you might get very bad dreams which cause some internal fear or tensions in your way of thinking. So to avoid such bad dreams which forecast something bad might happen, so such bad dreams can be avoided by listening Panchanga Sravanam. Ganga snana visesha punya phaladam godana tulyam runam. So Ganga snana. We have so many sacred rivers in India or Bharat, or you can say Akhanda Bharat. So in India, we have so many sacred rivers. And taking a holy dip or a holy bath in those rivers, it's considered very auspicious, and it removes so many bad effects which are there for you, and it gives you some good divine nature by which you can think positively or do something good in life, and it makes you go forward in your spiritual path or spiritual life. It makes you take a step forward. So having holy dips in good rivers or in sacred rivers from time to time, it gives you a good and divine thought, some fresh mind. In all those rivers which we have in India, Ganga is considered as most auspicious and one of the most sacred river. And the Ganga river, which flows apart in the Varanasi, is considered too sacred. So taking a holy dip in Ganga river, this is what one of the benefits which you get from Panchanga Sravanam, because it's not an easy task to go to river Ganga. Even if you live in India, it takes a lot of money to travel to such a place where the Ganga river exists and then to take a bath. If you live abroad, considered in some other foreign country, it's going to cost you a huge amount of money. You can do it maybe once in a while, once in a year, once in a couple of years, but you cannot do every day, or you cannot do every now and then. But by participating in this Panchanga Sravana, you get the benefits, you get the good deeds of taking a holy dip in river Ganga. Ganga snana visesha punya phaladam godana tulyam drunam. So in charity or giving donations or giving alms to the poor, there are many different kinds which we can do in our everyday life. But giving a cow to a Brahmin is considered very auspicious, and it has so much of good value. So but donating a cow to either a Brahmin or to some institute or to some trust or to some farm where they can take care of the cows, it's not an easy thing to do, because you need to first buy a cow and it costs you some money. And if you want to donate it, you have to see a good donor. You have to be a good donor, and you got to find a good person who is able to accept the donation. If you cannot find a good person who can accept a good donation, you cannot donate it. So here, considering this Panchanga Sravana, it gives you the benefit of doing a godan to a good Brahmin. Ayurvruddhidamuttamam. It increases your lifespan. It gives you a good lifespan. Subhakaram santana sampatpradam. Santanam means you can have good kids either boys or girls. So for your lineage to continue, for your hereditary nature to get continued, and for you to have some good heirs who can lead a good lifestyle, who can bring some good name and fame to your family, you need good kids. So here, by listening to Panchanga Sravanam, it gives you good kids. Nana karma susadhanam, and many other different variety of things which you plan to do in your life. For all the good things which you plan to do, this gives you some good way so you can go in a good direction and know how to do it and how to execute a particular task. Samuchitam Panchanga karnyatam. So on the Hindu New Year day, by participating in the Panchanga Sravana, all these auspicious things are getting granted to the listener. So this Panchanga Sravana is particularly for US, Canada, or you can consider North America in broad way as well. But I will give you some forecasts about India in general. So in this Panchanga Sravana, the first part is to be known as the general Varsha Lagna or the Jagar Lagna. This is taken based on when the New Year day starts. By the exact time when the New Year is going to start, at that exact point of time, what is the horoscope in nature? What are the planetary positions and what is the ascendant of that time? By knowing all those planetary features, we can predict how the outcome is going to be for that particular country or state or city. So based on that, we'll be having some general predictions. And after that, we have a list of ministers, like you can consider some cabinet ministers. So they're called as Navanayikas. So like, who is the king for this year? Who is the minister? Who is the lord of the crops? Who is lord of the wealth? Or who is lord of the agriculture, vegetables? Depending on that, how is the forecast going to be? How is the economy going to be? So all those general predictions are going to be taking place next. And after that, we're going to give general Rasi fall or Gochar fall or transit results for different constellations or different zodiac signs particularly, or Rasis. And before that, we'll be knowing each and every nakshatra's Kandai Phala to know when is a good time for each and every nakshatra. We'll go one by one. So here, based on the particular timing when the New Year is going to start for New York location, all these readings are getting taken noted. So having New York as the base location, the general predictions for US, Canada, or some predictions for Mexico as well, I'm going to tell them. The Navanayikas, or the main rulers for this year, are the king is Chandra, because the New Year starts on a Monday. So the king is Chandra. If the king is Chandra, there is going to be some heavy floods and heavy rains throughout the country, but the happiness is going to be good overall, and the temperatures are also going to be increased slightly. The winters are going to be more harsh. We're going to experience more cold winters this time. And the minister or the mantri is Kuja. If Kuja is the mantri or the minister, we'll generally experience some more forest fires. Last year itself, if you take the Hindu New Year, which starts from 2020 to 2021, considering that year, which is called as Sarari. So at that year, we experienced so many forest fires in and around California and some other parts in USA as well. So even this year, we're going to experience so many forest fires, and so I request the administration to take some precautions ahead to avoid them, or at least how to control them well in advance. And there's going to be some wars or some political kind of mishappenings even in the local cities and states as well. Some political unrest and so many mob gatherings which might do some violence acts over this year. But the crop, it's going to be a bit of dry crop, so some of the crop might fail. The commander of armed forces or the Senapati is Chandra. So here it decreases a little bit wars, but we will be having a warlike situation. But by having Chandra or moon, the advantage is there are going to be some good cattle, and there are going to be good milk yield from the cattle. We're going to have good dairy products. There's going to be an increase in the yield of dairy products. The Lord of Crops, Sasyadhipa, is Sukra. we're going to be having a good crops, good water crops, like crops which require more water to grow. All those crops are going to grow fine. We're going to have a good yield from them. The Dhanyadipa is Buddha. So there will be some decrease, slight decrease in the prices. So the farmer might not get a good amount for the type of crops which he yields. Like last year, due to Corona and lockdown, so many of the potatoes in many states were just buried underground or were just thrown away because they couldn't get any good price and the buyers are not ready to buy. So some similar situations might happen this year as well. So try to be prepared for that, or try to make sure what kind of measures you can take to avoid any huge loss in the farmer perspective or in a business perspective. The Argyadipa is Chandra, that is Lord of the Fuel. So the prices for the crops are going to increase slightly, but there will be some fears whether if there will be some less demand, or is the demand, or is the supply going to meet the demand or not. Some such kind of mishappenings might happen this year. The Meghadipa is Chandra, so we'll be having some good rains. We can expect some good rains this year, and even in California kind of states, we might experience some good amount of rains. Rasadipa is Ravi, so the prices for butter, oil, jaggery, and honey, they're gonna remain normal. Those businesses are not gonna increase their prices too much. They can be some regular prices. And Nirasadipa is Sukra, which is like minerals. So here camphor and the incense sticks, the perfume, sandalwood, any cosmetics or perfume related ingredients, their prices are gonna go up. So the cosmetic industry might experience some huge prices. So the cosmetic industry is going to be having some good revenue this year, and due to their huge prices, their sales might get disturbed a little. So make sure take some measures how to control that. So these 9 are called the Navanayakas because here we have a set of 9 ministers. So in these 9 ministers, the majority is by Subhagrahas, which are good planets, or you can say auspicious planets. So overall perspective for this year for USA or Canada, we can say it's going to be okay. It's not that bad compared to last year. And some other set of ministers which we have are the Purohita or priest is Sukra. Sukra is Venus, so there's going to prevail some good justice this year. All those cases which might be pending, or all those people who feel they're not guilty but were given as the verdict as guilty, when they apply for a petition, they might get a good hearing. And this year is particularly good for priests for all the religious kind of rituals. The Ganaka is Seni, so this is considered for some financial aspect or for the accounts, finances swing. So they're going to be a bit slow the way they act and the way they respond, considering like the IRS tax returns, such things which have taken so much delay last year. So the IRS tax refunds, how soon we're gonna get them. So this year they might get slowed down a little bit. All the finance wing of the government might be a bit slow, but try to be patient. The Gramadhipa or Gramanayaka is Kuja, it's Mars. So here Grama means some village, or you can consider it a small town. So if it is Kuja, it means there will be some forest fires or kind of like situations, like too much fiery kind of situations, even in some cities and some towns as well. So here, this year particularly, the firefighter department has to take care so much that due to huge work, they might experience some huge difficulties. So how soon they can put off a fire, they have to be careful this year and try to act pretty fast than how much they do regularly. Some towns or some villages might experience a hunger drought kind of situations where they might get all the types of groceries or all types of amenities which they require. The Daivagna is Chandra. Here Daivagna means an astrologer. It is Chandra. So here for the astrologers, it is very good this year, even for the priests, just like we said. So you can believe astrologers, and their predictions for this year will be very good, and most of them might come true. The Rashtradipa is Chandra. So Rashtra means a state. The head of states is Chandra. This is very good for women particularly. So all sorts of like feminism kind of bills or acts which are to be passed, and all the rights considering for the women they're going to be passed very soon, and it's going to be in their favor. So it's very good for the women, considering all the administration or the political situation is going to be in the favor of women. I think this is a very good news for all the women. The Sarvadesodyogadhipati is Kuja, which means like the head of jobs and industries, employment. So here, because it's Mars, a negative planet, or you can consider some inauspicious planet, there's going to be some enmity or some chaos between people, and the unemployment is going to increase. We might see a drastic increase in unemployment this year. So we have to be very careful and try to plan how we can avoid such situations. And even some illegitimate relations might get increased this year if we consider the statistical analysis for every year, how moral or how ethical the people are. This year it might be a little bit off the mark. The Gajadhipa is Sukra. Here Gaja means elephant, but if you consider in present day terms, you can take Gajadhipa as some luxury vehicles. So since it is Sukra, the luxury vehicles are gonna have good sales, and majority of the sales are gonna be through women. So in the luxury sector, many women are gonna buy luxury vehicles this year, and we can expect some good sales in all the luxury vehicles. And the Ashwadhipa, Ashwa means a horse, but for the horse you can consider some regular middle class type of vehicles like regular cars or some bikes. And the Adhipa is Kuja or Mars. So here this year the regular car sales, you can see a huge dip kind of things. So their sales are gonna drop down this year. The automotive industry might experience some lows. So the automotive, the bikes, the sales might drop down, and people might not be interested in buying new cars as soon as how they used to do in the previous times. They might try to delay how soon they purchase a new car. And the Stri Adhipa means the Lord of Women is Chandra. This is very good for the women. So this year it's very good for the women, for the feminism, the women rights, and all the cosmetic industry as well. Now let's move on to the general predictions for USA and Canada as well, and some global predictions. If we consider the starting time of New Year, it is called as Varsha Lagna or Varsha Chakra. So in that horoscope, the ascendant is Scorpio. So here we're basing these truly on sidereal positions of planets. So traditionally, the Hindu astrology is purely based on stars. So we follow a sidereal system of astrology. But in the West, or consider some other countries in China and Europe, it's truly tropical system. They follow astrology or astronomy system based on the position and reference of the sun. So they follow tropical ephemerides. But in India, we follow sidereal ephemerides, and all the predictions which we make are based on those sidereal ephemerides. So here, based on when the Hindu New Year is going to start, for that particular time, we are preparing a sidereal horoscope, and based on that, we're going to give predictions for USA and Canada. So the ascendant here is Scorpio, and we have the dragon tail or Ketu in Scorpio. And the third house, it's Capricorn. We have Saturn in Capricorn, and Aquarius, we have Jupiter over there. And in Pisces, we have Sun, Mercury, and Moon. In Aries, we have Venus, and in Taurus, we have Dragon Head or the North Node, and then Mars. So this is the planetary position which we have for New Year in this location. Considering this chart, we can say that there's going to be some more rains this year. There's going to be huge rains, and we might experience some floods in some places as well. And we can expect to have some good fertile land and good yield for the crops. But we're going to experience this year so many plant-based diseases, like the crop might get affected with some diseases, and we might have some huge loss of the crops due to some plant diseases. So we have to try to make sure we can control that. And we might experience some thunderstorms as well. And particularly between the people, between the general public, some enmity kind of situations might arise where people just because of being lonely due to these kind of situations. They might not like being in public anymore, or they might not like being with some other people. So whenever they see some other person, they might feel an enemic kind of situation where they don't want to interact in a good manner. So we can experience that this year. So to avoid this, we should try to generally arrange some good public gatherings so people can have a regular friendly environment and try to overcome the loneliness or depression kind of situations. And the diseases are going to increase. We've been seeing that since the past year. It's always being on the rise. We're not sure when it's going to take a dip, but it is going to be on the rise even in this year. So considering the horoscope, the ascendant is Scorpio with dragon tail on it. So this says that there's going to be some less stability in the way of thinking for the political leaders. So that how soon they can take a decision is going to change. For any decisions, they might take some more time or take too long amount of time where they might not take a decision at all. And it's going to be so confusing, and there's going to be some lack of understanding between leaders. So for any type of situation or for any type of bill to pass, they're going to be having two back and forth meetings where it's going to delay a lot. Even in general day-to-day life or in general industry perspective, for any new innovation thing to take place, they might have too many meetings, just wasting time. So we should try to reduce the number of meetings we're going to have this year, and too much thinking for each and every small decision. So that's going to have a lot of time waste. So we're going to try to decrease that as well. And so for the small families or regular families, they have to work hard, and their regular household expenses might increase this year a lot. And considering the third lord Saturn is in the third house, we can expect that the maids or servants or who are in the labor part or in the daily wage or the weekly wages part, they might have some good time. They might get some good work this year. They might be employed in some good industries, and they can make some good amount of money. But for the singers this year, it's going to be a little bit difficult. So who are in the music industry, they might experience some huge blows. So try to plan your future well in advance. And considering Jupiter in the fourth house and the fourth lord in the third house, we can say that the real estate, the purchasing of some land or purchasing of houses is going to reduce this year. In the real estate, you can see a huge dip where it's not in much favor. And one other thing is, this year, though we have huge rains, we might have some lack of water resources. So we should try to plan well in advance how to build up some good water resources. And here we have Sun, Mercury, and Moon in the fifth house. So it says that like the population might decrease this year. We've been seeing it since last several months that the US population is decreasing due to increased death rate because of the COVID-19. And we might experience a huge rise in the death rate this year as well. So we should try to take measures to control the mortality rate as well, because too much drastic decrease in the population in such small amount of time is going to impact the growth of the country. So we should try to make sure the death rate is getting reduced. Otherwise, it's going to cost a huge amount for the nation. And the infant mortality rate might increase this year as well. It could also be due to the coronavirus. And considering Shukra or Venus in the sixth house and the sixth lord and the seventh lord with mutual exchange in their houses called Parivartana Yoga, we can say that the enemies are going to increase, and US might build up some new enemies this year with some other nations as well. So it's going to be a tough situation for the new US government and for the new administration, how it's going to deal with international relationships. It has to make sure that they maintain at least some good standard friends with good relationships in international countries, because if they don't have any good relationships with any country, it's going to affect them a lot in the long run. And the sports industry as well as some self-defense industry might see a drastic decrease this year. Their revenue, their income might decrease, and they can see some huge unemployment in the sports industry and in the entertainment industry as well. And considering Dragon Head and Mars in the 7th house, we can see that we'll be having a lot of heated political debates this year. The politics, it's not an easy game. Though we got a new president, it's not going to be an easy situation to handle and control the population as well as handle all the present situations. He might face so many tensions and he might face so many pressure. He might have so much opposition from other people as well. So there's going to be so many heated debates and what to do, how to take some long-term decisions which are going to impact the nation. They might have some obstacles in that area. This government might do some less welfare to the general public. They might be purely business friendly and corporate friendly. They might not have too many welfare schemes this year. Due to increased death rate, we might see a decreased life expectancy of the general public and a general decrease in the population as well. So we have to take measures how we are going to curb that situation and how we can make that not impact the remaining country's economy and the country's growth. Considering Chandra in the 5th house, we can say that luck will favor the government sometimes. Though it faces some huge blows and huge hurdles, we might see luck favoring it sometimes, and we can see that the nature might become friendly sometimes. And we can see a huge unemployment increase, just like I said. So this year we're gonna see more unemployment than last year, and the government might have to struggle a lot to create employment for these, and we need more businesses and industries to employ these people. But considering the situation, so many businesses might be out of business, so the government has to make sure it takes at least some measures to curb these kind of situations. And there's going to be so many struggles in the work life and in the industries as well. This year, considering Buddha is in Nietzsche, Mercury is in Nietzsche, so we can see a drastic decrease in the GDP of the country, in the gross domestic product of the country, and we can see a high decrease in the total revenue which the country is going to make. And considering Shukra in the 6th and 7th due to Parivartana, the minimum family expenses are going to increase a lot. Like the minimum amount, which is the regular household expenditure which they're going to have, is going to increase because so many of the prices might increase this year. So they have to make sure and plan the budget well in advance. So overall, if we consider the general predictions, we might see some political unrest and too many internal politics where there's going to be too many differences of the opinions between different state leaders and between the state leaders and the county leaders. So many leaders will have differences of opinion and they might just keep on arguing rather than taking a decision on time. So we might see so many delays in any government related activity. But the government will make some good health policies which benefit the general public and which benefit the poor. But the expenses are going to increase, which is going to have a huge impact on the regular household, where their minimum expenditure is going to increase than the expected. And we can expect a war-like situation, and the USA might go on war with some countries this year. And the US is also going to experience some loss of power. Like till now, it is like a superpower in the global perspective, but due to the present situations and the way it's handling all the situations, we can experience some loss of power where it's going to create some power vacuum because there's no superpower anymore. And if USA is not the superpower, there's still not yet a leader which is ready to overtake that responsibilities. So we can see some type of power vacuum in the global perspective. And we can see some decrease in the business in the US. The revenue is going to decrease, the trade is going to decrease due to bad international relationships. And due to the decrease in trade, the overall revenue which the country has is going to decrease a lot. So these are the general predictions for the USA. And considering Canada, it is also going to experience the same situations, like almost similar. And if we consider Alaska, it might experience too many cold winters this year, like too much cold winter, which the temperature is going to drop below the average which we had last year. And so these are all the general predictions for the year Plava. So after the general predictions, we're gonna move on to the regular things. I'm gonna list them out one by one. So we have a Vastu Kartari in traditional Hindu astrology. So this is a time which is highly inauspicious to start any new construction activity. So during this time, you shouldn't start any new types of constructions. After this time, you can start a new construction by getting some auspicious timing from a good astrologer. So the Vastu Kartari it starts from 4th May 2021 and it's going to end on 28th May 2021. So between 4th May 21 and 28th May 2021, between these dates, you shouldn't start any new constructions, any new ventures, or any new types of building, construction kind of related things. And this year we have the combustion of Venus, or you can say the setting of Venus, which is also called as Sukramudami. So it already started on the 14th of February 2021 and it's going to end on the 30th of April 21 by the Venus rising in the west. And then Venus is going to set on the west in 2nd January 2022 and it's again rising on the east in 15th January 2022. And apart from this, we also have a combustion of Jupiter, or it's also called as setting of Jupiter. Here basically all the planets rise and set every day, but if you consider the nautical almanac, any planet which rises, it should be visible for at least some time during the nighttime. But if it is not at all visible during the nighttime, it is called as the setting of the planet, or you can say the combustion of a planet, or you can say it as a mudami in the Sanskrit language. So for Jupiter, considering the combustion timings, it's going to start 18th of February in 2022 by setting in the west, and it's going to rise in the east on 21st of March 2022. And in India, we have so many sacred rivers. Out of them, 12 are considered very sacred. And for those, every year, one of the year in the cycle, it's going to experience Pushkarams. So Pushkara is basically a god or a deity. He's going to reside in one year each year. So by him residing in that particular river, it's going to make it more auspicious than the regular timings. And taking a holy dip or a bath in that river during that time is going to give you so many divine blessings. So this year, due to Jupiter moving or transiting to the Aquarius on 20th November 2021, the Pushkara is for Sindhu Nadi. It's on the northeast of India. So taking a bath after that day in that river is going to prove very auspicious. And considering the seasons, we have the spring equinox on March 20th, and then the summer solstice on June 20th. And then we have the autumnal equinox on September 22nd, and the winter solstice on December 21st. And in 2022, we have the spring equinox on March 20. This is the general way which the seasons are to be known, or how the seasons should be reckoned. It is based basically on the tropical solar signs. And if you consider the sidereal ones, the sun Kataka Sankranti is basically on July 16th, and then the Makara Sankranti is on January 14, 2022. The eclipses, we have 4 eclipses this year. The first one, a total lunar eclipse on the 26th of May, but this eclipse is not completely visible on all the places of the US. We're going to experience a penumbral lunar eclipse on the east coast, and a partial eclipse in the mid, and then a total lunar eclipse in the west. The exact timings and what to be followed on that particular day, we're gonna make a special video on that like a week before the eclipse timings, so you know exactly what to do and what to follow. And we have an annual solar eclipse on June 10th, and it's visible only in the northeast part of US, like New York, New Hampshire, New England, all those recent regions, Massachusetts as well. And on November 19th, we have a partial lunar eclipse, and it's visible almost throughout the whole country. And the fourth one is we have a total solar eclipse on December 4th, and it's not visible in the USA. So we have like 4 eclipses, out of which 3 are visible in the USA. And most of them are visible in Canada as well. So these are all the general things considered for the country's economy and a general forecast of how the nation is going to be. After this, one of the main part which we have as part of Panchanga Sravanam is Rasi Phal or Gochar Phal, or you can also call it as the transit results. So whenever a planet transits to a different sign, it has some different impact on each and every zodiac sign. So here we have some general predictions based on the planetary transits for this year. And then based on those, we'll know for each zodiac sign how auspicious or how good it is and how bad it is, and what type of remedies to do and what type of actions to take. Apart from these, for each and every star, we have Kandai Phal. These are calculated based on the Tithi, Vara, Nakshatra, and the Yoga, Karna, and then the number of the star. Based on those, we get these Kandai Phala. For each and every star, they're different. So now I'm gonna tell about for all the 4 star. But keep it in mind that these are very general predictions, also known as Sthula predictions or Sthula Falitalu. So these are basically general, considering the broadness of the population. Like let's say we have around 7 billion of the population, and for the 12 zodiac signs, roughly we have around 6 million people. Or sorry, it's 600 million people for each zodiac sign. So these are not going to impact each and every person in the same way, but you can take these as some general or regular guidelines to be followed throughout the year. And these are predicted based on the slow moving planets like Jupiter, Saturn, the North Node and the South Node, or the Dragon Tail and the Dragon Head. Since these planets are like stationary in a particular sign for a long time, they do have a huge impact on each and every sign in some sort of manner. So based on these slow moving planets, we list out some general predictions. These are called as Rasi Phal or Gochar Phal or transit results. If you want to go more deep, you can go for monthly results or weekly results. These are given based on the transit of the Sun, of transit of Mars, Venus, or Mercury. And if you go for everyday transit results, or like daily, everyday Gochar Phal or everyday transit results, you have to take it based on the moon. But since here we're doing yearly predictions, we're taking them based on Jupiter, Saturn, and Dragon Head or Tail. And before that, I'm gonna read out the Kandai Phalas for each and every nakshatra. And keep it in mind, these are not done based on the Indian Panchanga, these are based on the America Panchanga. So if you see here, this is the version of the Indian Panchanga which I've been making since 4 years. So I've been publishing a Hindu traditional almanac in Telugu language, and this is the 4th year which it's coming out. But from this year, I'm thinking of making a Panchanga in English as well. I've been making calendars in English since 3 years, so I have some good amount of experience in that. The difference between a calendar and a Panchanga is a Panchanga has the 5 elements and so many auspicious things which are very useful for the general public, but the calendar has only some of those details like Tithi, Vara, Nakshatra, and some bad timings which to be avoided. So a calendar is not too deep in nature, but a Panchanga is very deep in nature. So for the benefit of the general public, I'm thinking of starting a Panchanga for the USA and Canada as well. It's going to be released shortly this year, and I hope it's useful to all the people residing in USA or Canada. So if we consider the Kandai Phal, these are 3 numbers. So for each star, there's going to be 3 numbers, and each number represents the 4 months. In the Hindu almanac or in the Hindu year, we have 12 months, 12 lunar months. So for each 4 lunar months, there's going to be a particular number. So the first number represents the first 4 lunar months, and the second number represents the second set of 4 lunar months, and the third number represents the last 4 lunar months. So here, if that number is 0 in the first one, so it represents Adisunya Mahavyadhi, Madhyasunya Mahabhayaha, Antyasunya Mahahanihi. So if you have a 0 in the first one, it represents some sort of disease which you might get affected with in the first 4 months. And if the second number is a 0, you might experience huge fear, some unrest, some instability in your job, or some uncertainty in your life. And if the last number is 0, it represents some harm might happen, like some loss of position, loss of job, or some impact in your family, some bad relationships, or some bad experiences in your regular day-to-day life. So this is if you have a 0 in one of those 3 numbers. But if it's an odd number, it's considered as pretty lucky, and you might see good fortune, good raise in your income, good raise in your business as well. And if it is an even number, it is just a regular life, so it's not gonna get impacted hugely due to any of the environment impacts. So for Ashwini Nakshatra, it's 0, 1, 2. So 0, 1, 2. So the first number is a 0, which represents the first 4 months. Since it is 0, in the first 4 months they might experience some health issues, and the second 4 months have a number 1. Since it's an odd number, you might see good fortune, good wealth building in those 4 months. And the last number is 2, which represents the last 4 months in the Hindu lunar calendar. So since it's an even number, you're going to maintain a regular lifestyle, so it's not going to be impacted hugely by the economy or by the social issues, but you're going to continue your regular good lifestyle in a smooth and calm manner. So this is how you should try to understand what the Kandai Falalu represent. So for Ashwini, it is 0, 1, and 2. And for Bharani, it's 3, 2, 4. For Kritika, it's 6, 0, and 1. For Rohini, it's 1, 1, 3. For Mrugasira, it's 4, 2, 0. For Ardra, it's 7, 0, 2. For Punarvasu, it's 2, 1, 4. For Pushyami, it's 5, 2, 1. For Aslesha, it's 0, 0, 3. For Magha, it's 3, 1, 0. For Pubba, it's 6, 2, 2. For Uttara, it's 1, 0, 4. For Hasta, it's 4, 1, 1. For Chitta, it's 7, 2, 3. For Swati, it's 2, 0, 0. For Vishakha, it's 5, 1, 2. And for Anuradha, it's 0, 2, 4. For Jyeshtha, it's 3, 0, 1. For Mula, it's 6, 1, 3. For Purvashadha, it's 1, 2, 0. For Uttarashadha, it's 4, 0, 2. For Sravanam, it's 7, 1, 4. For Dhanishta, it's 2, 2, 4. For Satabhisham, it's 5, 0, and 3. For Purva Bhadra, it's 0, 1, and 0. I think this star is, which is the one which is having like 2 zeros apart from Aslesha. So I think they have to be very careful this year how they're leading their life. And Uttara Bhadra, it's 3, 2, 2. And Revati, 6, 0, 4. It has only 1 0. A lot of research is still needed to be done on these, but since these are being followed since ages in the Hindu lifestyle, they do have some impact, and they do show you how to take control of your life and how to plan well in advance for that particular 4 months. So if you basically divide the year into 3 sets, each having 4 months, by using these numbers, you can know how to plan your expenses or how to plan your life, your career, your job, your education during those particular time of the year. And keep it in mind, these are again general predictions. They're not precise. They're not precise enough because they're not based on your particular own horoscope or your Janma Kundali. So these will be always just regular predictions. These are called as Thula Falitalu. So, but if you do want some precise predictions of how your life is going to be and how it's going to get impacted this particular year or some particular month, and how your health might be or how your finance might be, you have to consider meeting up with a good astrologer. It doesn't necessarily have to be me, but it could be any other astrologer which you like in your place. So once you get a reading or forecast from a good astrologer, it's going to be more precise. But these are just a regular general predictions. It's a traditional system which is being followed for all the Panchanga Sravanas. So these are the Kandai Falas, and now let's move on to the Rasi Fal. I think this is what many people might be waiting for, the Rasi Fal or the Gochar Fal or the transit results. So this year, the slow moving planets, Jupiter, it's in Aquarius at the start of the year, and on September 14th it's moving to Capricorn, and then on November 20th it's again going on to moving to Aquarius. And on June 20th the Jupiter retrograde is gonna start, and on October 14th it's gonna go again into direct motion or forward motion. So this retrograde or a backward kind of motion of the planets, it's purely imaginary because it's based on the geocentric coordinates or geocentric position of the planets. It doesn't mean that planets move around the Earth, but it is taken with reference to the position of a planet as seen from the center of the Earth. So if you consider heliocentric coordinates, like as seen from the center of the Sun, no planet has a retrograde motion. Every planet continues to move forward in a straight direction in that elliptical orbit. But if you consider the center to be the Earth, like a reference, just like how you have topocentric coordinates, just like that, if you have a geocentric coordinates, considering from the center of the Earth, what is the position of the planet, and depending whether it's a slow moving planet or the fast moving planet than Earth, it might have a direct motion or retrograde motion. So based on those, we're gonna go into the predictive part. And this whole year Saturn is going to be in Capricorn, but he's having retrograde motion from May 23rd, and then he's again into direct motion from October 11th. And Dragon Head and Dragon Tail, they're gonna be in Taurus and Scorpio for the whole year. First, let's consider Aries. For Aries, for each and every zodiac sign, we have Adaya Vyaya and Rajapuja Avamana. So these are calculated based on who is the Lord of the year or King of the year, or like which weekday the new year happened to be. Since the Lord of the year is Chandra, since the new year, the Hindu New Year for USA, it's on Monday. But if you consider India, it fell on Tuesday. But based on your particular location and your particular planetary positions for that particular place, the new year falls on Monday, April 11th. So since the Lord of the year is Moon, the Adaya and Vyaya for Aries are 14 and 12. So you can see some huge income and some huge gains in your business. But the Vyaya is 2, so you're gonna spend a lot less compared to what you're earning. So you're earning in very huge amounts, but you're spending very less. We cannot say you're being a completely miser by being like this, but you're trying to save money for some future expenditure. And Rajapuja is 4, Avamana is 5. Rajapuja means how many people are in your favor and how many people are likely to be friendly to you in the general society. And Avamana is how many people are against you, or how many people might be your foes, or how many people might oppose you. So this is like a general ratio of the people who are in favor to you and who are not in favor to you. So for Aries, the Rajapuja, like the people in favor, is 4 and the Avamana is 5. So many people might oppose you because maybe you're not spending money, or maybe you're not trying to be up to the mark to their expectations, or they might have some natural grudge on you. And the Jupiter transit this year, it's in the 11th house for most part of the year, and except for 2 months it's in the 10th house. So the transit of Jupiter is very good for Aries. The transit of Saturn is in the 10th house, which might create some hurdles in your job. So try to be a bit careful in the way you lead your job life. And the Dragon Head, or Rahu. So from now onwards, I'm going to be calling it as Rahu and Ketu. So the Dragon Head is called as Rahu. The Dragon Tail is called as Ketu. So the Rahu is in Taurus this year. So it's in the 2nd house for this whole year for Aries. And it is okay considering the wealth perspective or financial gains. This is a bit friendly. But Ketu is in the 8th house. This is a bit bad for these people. So considering the career, since the Jupiter is in the 11th house, it's going to be a good milestone in their career. They might see some good changes in their job. they might see a good changes in their lifestyle, and they can expect some new promotions, new change in their positions, change in jobs, a friendly nature in their job environment. But if you consider the finance, it is equally good as well, because the Jupiter in the 11th house is proven very auspicious, and the Rahu in the 2nd house also is very favorable for any sort of financial gains and any sort of materialistic business which you try to do. Any business which tries to help the general public, it's gonna have good profits this year if you own such a business. The health is gonna be fine. You don't have to worry of any health problems this year. But the family life, you might face some hurdles or some small obstacles in your family life, in your relationships, in your love life. You might see some unexpected kind of situations where you might end up in a messy situation. So try to take care of your family life. Try not to get too much involved in your job life. By enjoying too much, you might not spend enough time with your family. So try to make some time and try to make sure you spend enough amount of time with your family so you have some good relationships. And considering the Shanti or remedy, or like which type of prayers they're supposed to do this year, for Aries, it's better they worship Lord Shiva or Ishvara. So if they do Shiva worship this year, it's gonna be very auspicious for them. It's gonna bring out good results, because the 10th house transit of Saturn might be a very problematic from September 14 to November 20, because considering Saturn is in retrograde for some time and the Jupiter is also in the 10th house, so it might create some obstacles in your job life. So from September to November, you have to be very careful in the job which you do. Try not to point out others' mistakes too much. Try to just make sure you're doing your job right. So the Shanti for Aries is worshipping Lord Shiva for this year. For Taurus, if you consider, Adaya is 8 and Vyaya is 11. So income is 8 and expenditure is 11. So they might use up their credit cards too much. They might spend too much and end up with some debts. But if you try to take care since beginning of the year and try to plan well, you might at least try to save some money. And Rajapuja is 7 and Avmana is 5. So many people are in your favor. Many people try to support you in all sorts of situations. Very few people oppose you in anything or in any decision which you take. And Jupiter is in the 10th house for most part of the year. So, and considering Shani in the 9th house, it might have some bad impact in your career. And Rahu is in the 1st house and Ketu is in the 7th house. So if you consider career perspective this year in your job, you have to be very cautious and very careful. Never try to point out any source of others' mistakes. Try to make sure that you're concentrating on your job. Don't waste any of your time. Try not to waste time during the work hours by doing something else which is not at all related to your job or which is not at all needed for your job. So don't just try to browse the internet or watch any movies or watch your phone while you're in the working hours. Try to make sure you do justice to the 8-hour or a 9-hour work period which you have, and by concentrating on your work and try to be sincere in your work, and by delivering good results, your job might be stable. But considering a new job is not favorable this year for Taurus. And in finance perspective, you might see some huge expenditure, some unknown expenditure. Could be due to kids' education or your regular lifestyle, or due to some purchases which you make. But try to make sure they're not beyond your capabilities. The health life, it's gonna be normal this year. You might not experience any bad health, but try to make sure you maintain that stable health. And in the family relationships, you might see some unexpected clashes or unexpected arguments, some heated debates kind of situations with your family members, especially your wife. So make sure whenever you argue with your spouse, make sure you don't make it too big of an argument. Try to cut it as small as possible so you don't try to extend anything, and try to talk as minimal as possible so you don't end up starting any arguments. And try to talk very politely and spend some time with your family. And the Shanti for Taurus is to recite Gauri Ashtotram or Uma Ashtotram this year, like worshipping goddess Parvati or Gauri, and then chanting Vishnu Sahasranam chant as many as times as possible, or chant at least once every day. By chanting Vishnu Sahasranam, your financial life or your job career is going to be stable. And by reciting or praying to Gauri or Uma or Parvati, your family life is going to be stable, so you can have a stable family life and stable relationships. For Gemini, the Adaya income is 11 and expenditure is 8. So they are saving some money this year, so they can make some huge investments or buy some property. And the Rajapuja is 3 and Avamana is 1. So many people are in favor of Gemini people. And the transit of Jupiter is also very favorable this year, considering for around 10 months it's transiting in the 9th house, which is called Bhagyasthana. So it's going to be proving very auspicious. Any type of new things which you plan to do this year, they're going to end up successfully. And the Shani is in the 8th house, so regarding health, you might have to take care a little bit. But Rahu is transiting in the 12th house, or Vyayasthana, and Ketu is transiting in the 6th house, or Rogasthana. So considering the career perspective for this year, since Jupiter is transiting in the Bhagyasthana, it's a very good time to start any new business if you plan on starting it, or if you want to change a job, it's a very good time. But make sure you don't change a job between September and November. All the other 10 months are very favorable for going into a new job or starting any new business. But the Jupiter is getting retrograde on June 20, and then it's in the forward motion from October 18. So if you try to exclude from June 20 to October 18, the remaining time is very good to start any new business. But if you exclude only from September to November, it's a good time to change a job or to search for any new job. And the financial life is going to be pretty good this year. This year you're going to make some good amount of money. Even if you invest in stocks or in some trading or in any other business, you can make some good money. You can even do some good real estate investments as well. But for health, this year you have to take care of your health. Make sure you concentrate on taking food at good times, and make sure you take some healthy food, have a good nutritious diet, because considering Shani is in the 8th house, it's very bad for health perspective. So make sure you have some good concentration on your health. And family life and love life or relationships, they're going to be fine this year. You can expect some good relationships and strong relationships to happen. And the Shanti for this year for Gemini or Mithuna Rashi is by reciting Hanuman Stotras. You can recite Hanuman Chalisa or Hanuman Dandaka or Hanuman Bahut or any other stotra related to goddess Hanuma, or some people say as monkey god. For those of you who are not familiar, if you just Google up Hanuma or Anjaneya, you can find a lot about him. There are many stotras which praise Lord Hanuman. So by worshipping Lord Hanuman, you can expect some good results this year. For Cancer or Karkataka, it's the Adaya is 5 and Vyaya is 8. So this year they're going to be having some huge expenses. They might spend even more than how much they can earn. And the Rajapuja is 6 and Avamana is 1. So which means though they might end up in some debt-like situation, people are still in favor of them. People do talk good about them. It's not like many people talk bad about them, but many people are going to talk good about them, and they can have some good friends, and they can make some good new friends as well this year. And the Guru Sanchar or the transit of Jupiter is mostly in the 8th house for most part of the year, and it's in the 7th house from September to November. The transit of Saturn is in the 7th house, or Shani is in the 7th house. Transit of Rahu is in the 11th house. It's very beneficial. But the transit of Ketu is in the 5th house, which is like okay kind of situation. So if you consider the career perspective this year, it's not a good time to change to any other job, but try to plan well so you can be in your same job, or try not to change any new profession. Like if you want to change your profession or change your career from one type of lifestyle to a different type of lifestyle. Like if you're working in a real estate sector, but you want to move to the food industry, or let's say you work in the cloth segment, but you want to move to the medical industry, like such types of moves are not much favorable this year. So like having a career change kind of thing, but a job change is kind of okay. But the only favorable time for job change is between September and October. Considering the other times of the year, it's better you try to continue in your same job and in your same type of profession. Try not to change your profession to something which is completely new and which you might end up being miserable because you might not make it as good as possible in your previous profession. So try not to change your career to a completely new profession. Try to be in the same profession which skill set you do have. And considering health situation, you might have good health this year because Rahu is highly favorable, so your health will be good. But considering the situation of Saturn in the 7th house, you might experience some obstacles in your health life, so you have to plan a little bit carefully for that. Your family life is going to be good. You will have good relationships. You're going to have some good understandings with your spouse. Your children are going to behave well, and you can enjoy good comforts with your family. And the Shanti for Karkatakam this year, or Cancer this year, is to recite Lakshmi Narasimha Stotra. Lakshmi Narasimha is one of the deity in the form of Lord Vishnu. So he's also a very powerful god. If you recite Lakshmi Narasimha Stotra like the Lakshmi Narasimha Karavalamba Stotra or any other slokas related to Lord Lakshmi Narasimha Swami, they prove auspicious to you for this year, and it's going to help you to maintain a good and stable career as well. And next we have is Leo or Simha Rasi. But do keep in mind, all these predictions are just general predictions for the whole year. They're based on the slow moving planets. These are called general predictions or Gochar Phal or Rasi Phal or transit results. But if you do require more precise predictions based on your birth time and your birth chart, it's better you consider a good astrologer, so he can give you good precise prediction based on your horoscope. There will be more precise than these regular general predictions, so you know exactly what is going to happen, how to plan your life for this year. It's a good habit. Consult an astrologer every year so you can plan your life ahead for that particular year and know how to lead and how to spend wisely. So for Leo or Simha Rasi, the Adaya is 8 and Vyaya is 2, and Avamana is 4, but Rajapujya is 2. So this year they do have good financial gains, but the people which are friendly to them is decreased a lot. So many people might not be in favor of them. It may be because you're a bit lazy to work, or you might not work to the expected mark of the other person, or maybe you're just procrastinating your things. But so you do see a decline in the people who are in favor of you. And even in business, if you try to have a debate or a discussion with any other person for some particular decision regarding a project, there might be many people who oppose to your opinions. So try to be careful in the way you express your opinions this year. But considering transit of Jupiter, it's in the 7th house for most part of the year and in the 6th house from September to November. So the most part of the transit of Jupiter is very auspicious. And the transit of Saturn is in the 6th house. It's very beneficial as well. The transit of Rahu is in the 10th house and the Ketu is in the 4th house throughout the year. So if you consider the career perspective, this year is a very, very good time for Simha Rasi or Leo, that they can expect some new changes in their job life. They can expect getting some good job offers from a good competitor or a good company with some good salary package. And it's also a favorable time where they can start a good business as well. And even if they want to move to the health sector or the medical industry, it's a good time for those businesses. And in your career, since both Jupiter and Saturn are favorable this year, you can plan ahead for a good job, and you can experience having so many opportunities this year where you can showcase your skill sets and talent, and by which you can have a good stable job. In the financial life, this year they do make good financial gains. They do have a good income this year, so any sort of investments you do, or even in your job life, your income is going to be good. And in the health life, it's also good because the Saturn transit is highly favorable, so your health is going to be sound and strong. It's going to be very stable, and the family life as well is also very good and very friendly, and you can expect good relationships among your relatives and family and friends. So considering the overall situation for Leo, it's a very good life this year, and it's a very good time to have good opportunities to try out new experiments, to start a new business, or to get a new job. This year is, since it's very good and very auspicious, it's better you consider starting any new business or a new job which you plan. So considering this time of the year, it's gonna prove very favorable to your present situations. And the Shanti for this Rasi is Surya Aradhana, because the transit of Rahu and Ketu is not that friendly. So doing Surya Aradhana or praying to Lord Surya is going to be very beneficial for Simha Rasi or Leo. For Virgo, the income is 11 or Adaya is 11, and expenditure or Vyaya is 8, and Rajapuja is 5, and Avamana is 4. So they do have good income and good amount of people in their favor. So those who are into politics from Virgo, they're going to have a good time where many people are friendly to them and many people obey to their opinions. Many people value their decisions. And those who are in business, they do make some good amount of money this year. But the transit of Jupiter, it's in the 6th house for most part of the year, which might be a little bad. And the transit of Saturn is in the 5th house, which is not favorable. The transit of Rahu is in the 9th house, and the transit of Ketu in the 3rd house is very good and it's very beneficial. So if you consider the career perspective, though you do have some good high income, it's not a good time to change your job. So it's better you try to be in your same job. Try not to change your job this year, or try not to change your career to something particularly new. So try to be in the same career. You will make some good amount of money this year. The financial life is also very good, provided you're in the stable job and provided you don't change to any other job. The health life is considered a little normal, and since it's not favorable for the Saturn position, you might experience some health obstacles this year, and you might also experience huge increase in the way you spend for your medical expenses. So try to be careful and try to take care of your health. The family life, it's not that favorable this year. You might have some arguments with your spouse or with your family members or with your relatives. So try to be careful in the way you talk to them, or even considering your colleagues in your job, you might have or end up having some arguments with them due to differences in opinions. So try to talk as smooth or as politely as possible. Never try to be rude to the other person. And by you talking favorable to the other person, you might have some good discussions. And the Shanti for Kanya Rasi is Surya Radhana, or you can also do Navagraha Radhana or Navagraha Homa as well, because the transit of Jupiter and Saturn and Rahu as well, all these three are not that favorable. So it's better you do worship Lord Surya as much as possible, and also do Navagraha Shanti in any Hindu temple available. Tula Rasi or Libra, the Adaya is 8 and Vyaya is 11. So you can see some decrease in income, or though your income is same, you can see a rise in your expenditure. And the Rajapuja is 1, Avamana is 7. So this year, many people might be against you. Even your own family members might be against you. So try to be careful in the way you talk. And the transit of Jupiter is in the 5th house for most part of the year. So it's very favorable. But the transit of Saturn or Shani is in the 4th house. Rahu transit is in the 8th house, and the Ketu transit is in the 2nd house. So apart from Jupiter, the transit of Saturn or Rahu or Ketu, they're not much favorable. So you have to be a lot careful and a lot cautious this year. Considering your general career, you might see some new opportunities, and some of those opportunities might be given by your family members. So those of you, other relatives or some other family members who do run a business or a company, they might give you some good opportunities this year to showcase your skills, so you can have a good stable job. This year is a good time to have a good stable job. And in the finances, though you do have a huge income, you do have a huge expenditure as well. So though you change it to a good job, or though you start a business, though you see a rise in your profits, you do at the same time see a rise in your expenditure and the way you spend. So try to control it, try to take care of it. And the majority of spending might go to your kids, either for their higher education or for their undergrad or for the lifestyle for which they're living. So try to control the budget, how much you spend for your kids. It's gonna be pretty stable, but considering the health part, since the transit of Saturn is in the 4th house, your health might not be completely favorable and you might experience some health issues this year. So it's better you try to take care of your health as much as possible. And the family life, it's pretty good. You will have some good relationships. Your family members are going to support you in many ways, or in every way as possible. And the Shanti for this year for the Tula or Libra is to worship Anjaneya Swami or Lord Hanuma. Both are the same. Like Lord Hanuma has many different names, and one of the name is Anjaneya Swami. So if you worship him, you can try to overcome all the obstacles or the health issues which you face because of the bad transiting of Saturn and Rahu. But since the transit of Guru is favorable, you might experience some good results with successful worshipping of Lord Hanuman. But do keep in mind, these are all general predictions. These are not precise, or these might not be up to the mark, because these are not based on your personal horoscope. So if you do need any precise predictions, it's better you consult an astrologer. The next zodiac sign is Vrishchika Rashi or Scorpio. For Scorpio, the Adaya is 4 and Vyaya is 2. So they do have some good income and they're not spending much at all. So they're not doing any financial rotation, or they're not contributing to the economy. They just keep on saving money. And the Rajapuja is 4 and Almana is 7. So there might be many people opposing them because they're not spending, or they're not even giving money for their required expenses. And the transit of Jupiter is in the 4th house for most part of the year, and it's in the 3rd house from September to November. The transit of Saturn is in the 3rd house, which is very good and favorable. The transit of Rahu is in the 7th house and Ketu is in the 1st house. So considering career based on this particular transit, it's not a good time to change jobs. It's better you try to be in the same job. But if you consider the financial life, you will experience good financial gains, because the transit of Saturn in the 3rd house is very favorable. So you might experience some unexpected financial gains. You might get some hereditary property, some money through the shares which you have invested in the past, all the shares which you have invested in the past, or the real estate or the land which you have purchased in the past. They do give good returns this year. So you might see some unexpected huge financial gains. And considering the health situation, it is kind of like a okay kind of situation. It's not too good or it's not too bad. It's considered as a normal kind of situation. So try to concentrate a bit on your health and try to take care of your health, and try to maintain a good diet as well. And the family relationships are very good this year. Your family life as well as your relationships with your spouse are also very good. And the Shanti for Scorpio is to worship Lakshmi Narasimha Swami. So by reciting Lakshmi Narasimha Karavalamba Stotram, or if you have a Lakshmi Narasimha Swami temple nearby your place, by doing pradakshina to him, you can maintain very good relationships as well as a good financial life. Next is Dhanusu. Dhanusu Rasi or Sagittarius. So for them, the Adaya is 2 and Vyaya is 11. So you can see that there is a huge gap or huge mismatch between how much they earn and how much they're spending. So they're spending a lot more than how much they're earning. So this year they can see their debts rise a little bit, but try to make sure you can control your debts and they're payable. And the Rajapuja is 7 and Avmana is also 7. So equal amount of people oppose you and support you. The transit of Jupiter is in the 3rd house for most part of the year. The transit of Saturn is in the 2nd house. The transit of Rahu is in the 6th house and Ketu is in the 12th house. The transit of Rahu and Ketu is very favorable for this particular zodiac sign. Considering the career perspectives, the Rahu and Ketu transits are very favorable. So whichever job you do, except for those in the religious institutions, they might face some hurdles in their job life. But apart from religious institutions, any other type of job which you do, it's going to be very favorable, and you can experience a good change in your career. You can see new opportunities coming to your doorstep, and you can see that those new opportunities can make you have a leap forward and see some good financial gains. So the financial life also is going to be good, profitable this year, because though the Adaya and Vyaya are not that much favorable because of the transit of Rahu and Ketu, who are all doing work in the materialistic businesses, like in the commodity sector or in the business sector or in the any regular job which deals with the regular day-to-day life, you might see some increase in your financial life. And the health, it's considered as normal this year, or you might experience some health issues as well, especially to the nervous system. So it's better you try to take care of your health, and you might also experience some migraine or headache kind of issues. So try not to think too much, or try not to have a type of stress. Don't try to develop any type of stress by thinking too much on any particular topic or on any particular thing. Try to maintain a peace of mind, or try to have a calm mind by doing meditation for at least 10 minutes every day. By doing meditation, you can try to get good control of your health. And the family relationships, it's very good this year. You'll have a good family relationships, even with your spouse or with your love life. It's going to be very good, and it's going to be proven successful. And the Shanti for Sagittarius, because the transit of Saturn and Jupiter is not much favorable, the Shanti is to worship Lord Subramanya or Kumaraswamy or Kartikeya. He has many different names. So either you can worship Kumaraswamy, Kartikeya, or Subramanya Swami. It's going to prove very auspicious to you, and it can give you some good benefits. And the next, it's Makara Rashi or Capricorn. For Capricorn, the Adaya is 5 and Vyaya is 5. The Rajapuja is 3 and Avamana is 3. So everything is sort of like balanced for these people, because even the income as well as the expenditure, the favorable versus unfavorable people, everything is like, leveled together. So it's going to be a pretty normal life. And try not to fear too much, because you have the Jupiter transit in the second house for most part of the year. So it is very good. But the transit of Saturn is in the Janmarasi or in the first house. So this is very bad, considering you have Sadesati or the Elinati Shani. The Sadesati is basically in the second phase, so you might experience some huge obstacles or hurdles in life, but try to be calm and stable, try to be confident so you can overcome them. And the transit of Rahu is in the 5th house, and the transit of Ketu is in the 11th house. So the transit of Ketu is very beneficial, as well as the transit of Jupiter. So you don't have to worry too much about your life, but you can try to lead a good life by following good rituals, good timings, by being punctual in your everyday life, because Saturn favors those who lead a good punctual life with good hygiene. And in career perspective, it's not much of a favorable time to change a job or business, but it is a very good time, and you can make a good name in the present job which you're in. You can get good recognition in the work you do, and try to deliver your work on time, so you will gain good recognition. The financial life is pretty favorable this year because of the transit of Jupiter and Ketu. You can experience some good financial increase this year. You can see like receiving a promotion or a bonus in your job, and you can see your profits rise in the business whichever you do. And the health life, it's considered good, so you will not experience any bad situations or any bad symptoms, but try to just take care of your health and try to follow the regular norms so you won't get affected with anything. And the family life this year is considered good, so you will have good relationships with your spouse or with your family members and with your kids. And the Shanti for Capricorn, because the transit of Saturn is not good, since it's in the Janma Rashi, that is the second part of the Sadesati or Elinati Shani, it's better you do worship of Shiva or Guru or Datta. Like, considering you try to worship Shiva as much as possible, or Isvara, or if you're not much fond of him, you can try to worship Dattatreya Swami or Dakshina Murti or any deity which represent the form of a guru. If you try to worship any guru form, it provides you good results and good guidance in your life, by which you know how to leap through your problems and how to solve your problems and move forward. The next is Aquarius. For Aquarius, the Adaya is 5 and Vyaya is 5, so these are also leveled just like Capricorn. So this year they might experience some financial hurdles. And the Rajapuja is 6 and Avamana is 3. So though financially they might be a bit weak, but with the support perspective from other people, they're really strong. The transit of Jupiter is in the first house for most part of the year, and it's in the 12th house from September to November. And the transit of Saturn is in the 12th house. So these people, it's the first stage of Sadesati or Ilnadiseni. It started early 2020 January. So Sadesati, it's basically in the first stage, so it's not that bad, or it's not a thing which you have to worry too much. So try not to worry too much and try to have a stable mind. Don't try to think too much about Sadesati, because whoever you approach, they generally tell it's Sadesati, so it's not a good time for you. Don't do anything or don't start anything. But you cannot just say that. These are just general predictions. But if you do consult an astrologer with your particular horoscope, it can give you more precise results, by which we know whether it is really a good time to start a business or not, whether it is really a good time to change a career or not, or to plan for any new job or a change of job. So don't get disheartened because you're in Sadesati, but try to be confident and try to move forward. And the transit of Rahu is in the 4th house, and the transit of Ketu is in the 10th house. These both are not much favorable. So considering the transit, all the 4 transit are not much favorable, but the transit of Saturn is kind of okay. So in the career, it's not much of a favorable time to change a career or change a job, but in your natal horoscope or in your birth chart, if the Saturn is in a friendly sign and it is auspicious to your ascendant, then it is okay to change a job or career. So do consult an astrologer before you try to take any major decisions in your life. And the financial life is going to be pretty stable this year. It's going to be pretty normal. So you're not going to see any huge increases in your income or any huge increases in your expenditure. It's going to be pretty normal. It's going to be pretty stable life. And the health life is going to be pretty okay. But you might see some obstacles whenever you try to start a new thing. Your health might become an obstacle because it tries to stop you from trying to do any new things. So try to take care of your health. Try to take time on food. Try to do regular exercise or do a regular walking or meditation, so your health is stable and it helps you to be in a good job, so you can do your job fine once you're healthy. And your family life is kind of okay, but you might experience some problems with your spouse or with your children. So the way you talk to them, try to be careful how you talk to them and how you try to convince them with your thoughts and opinions. Try to be a little bit careful in the way you express them. And the Shanti for Aquarius is to do Shiva Stotra Parayana every day. So pray, worship Lord Shiva as well as Lord Hanuma every day, so they can try to get rid of the ill effects of the transit of Saturn. And also it's recommended they do Navagraha Shanti every 3 months or so they can have a good stable life. And the last, it's Meena Rashi or Pisces. So for Pisces, the Adaya is 2 and Vyaya is 11, or the income is 2 and the expenditure is 11. So these people might not make it too big this year, but they might have to spend too much this year. And the Rajapuja is 2 and Avamana is 6, so many people might be against their opinions. They might have opinion difference with many people. And the transit of Jupiter is in the 12th house for most part of the year, which shows that they might have huge expenditure or huge expenses. And the transit of Saturn is in the 11th house, which is okay and favorable. And the transit of Rahu is in the 3rd house, which is good. And the transit of Ketu is in the 9th house. So considering the career perspective, it's not a good time to change career. It's better you try to be in your same job. But it is a good time if you try to change job in your same segment. So It's not a good thing to change your career to some different profession, but if you try to change it in the same profession, then it's an okay situation. And in the financial life, though the Adaya and Vyaya are a bit odd, due to the transit of Saturn in the 11th house, it's going to be pretty stable, but you can see a good rise in your income only if you work hard. It is a time which is favoring only those people who work hard. It's not an easy place. It's not a time to make easy money. So don't expect like with just some small work you can get some good amount of money or huge profits. This is a time where you have to work so hard to get good profits. But there is a good transit where if you do work hard, you do see good results. And the health life, it's kind of good, or you can say it is very good because the transit of Rahu and Shani is highly favorable. But your health is going to be good only if you work out regularly. Only for those who try to practice some regular yoga or meditation or who do some regular exercises, for those people, we can say that this year health is going to be pretty stable and very good. For family life, it is pretty stable and pretty good as well. Even the relationships with your spouse and family members or relatives, it's going to be pretty stable. There are not many hurdles to face, so you can expect some good gains through relationships this year. But you do see some huge expenditure, but if you do work hard, you can also have some huge income as well. So due to the transit of Saturn in the 11th house, all of those who work hard do see good results, but you might just have huge expenditure as well, but you do see good income rise if you work hard. So these are broadly the Gochar Phal or the transit results for all the 12 zodiac signs or the 12 rasis. But do keep in mind, these are just the general predictions. These are not precise. If you do want a precise and detailed reading, you have to make sure you do consult an astrologer to have this year planned well in advance. And also, I've been writing an almanac since 4 years. This is the version of my Telugu almanac where it's a Telugu Panchanga, particularly for India. But this also do has some international calendars which are useful for USA, UK, Australia, and Singapore as well. But I'm also planning to launch a Panchanga in English for North America as well as some other countries, but I'm just waiting on some work to get done. Once it is done, I am planning to launch them soon this year, and I hope it benefits the whole public in general. So with this, we do finish our Panchanga Sravana. So this is the Panchanga Sravana, which is to be done on the new year of the Hindu calendar every year. So let's meet again for the next Panchanga Sravana. Om Swasti Prajabhyah Paripalayantam Nyayena Margena Mahim Mahishaha Go Brahmanebhyah Subhamastu Nityam Loka Samasta Sukhino Bhavantu. Hari Om Tat Satu. Namaskar.
ఈ వీడియో గనుక మీకు నచ్చినట్లయితే లైక్ చేయండి, షేర్ చేయండి, సబ్స్క్రైబ్ చేయడం మాత్రం మర్చిపోకండి. మా వీడియో నోటిఫికేషన్స్ మీకు రావాలంటే బెల్ ఐకాన్ ని క్లిక్ చేయండి.